Some APC governors meet with President Buhari, say desire to renew his mandate is in Nigerians' interest. Federal High Court okays conduct of Anambra Central Senatorial election scheduled for Saturday. Coalition of various groups protest in support of Kaduna government's education reforms. And Yusuf Buhari discharged from hospital. Hello, welcome to NTN Network News. I'm Joseph Johnson, and joining us from our Benin Network Center is Agatha Egwarujo. Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai of Kaduna State has again spoken of the willingness, desire and commitment of his colleagues in the governing APC to ensure the renewal of President Muhammadu Buhari's mandate in the overall interest of the country. The governor was speaking to journalists shortly after a brief meeting between the president and some of the APC governors. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
The governors, including those of Adamawa, Kano, Plateau, Niger, Kaduna, Yobe and Kogi states, were seen accompanying President Muhammadu Buhari to his official residence after observing the Jumaat prayers at the State House Mosque. On arrival at the residence, the governors met the president for about 30 minutes behind closed doors, but details were not made public. When confronted by newsmen, Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje of Kano State insists that the meeting was a normal courtesy to a leader in whom they are all pleased. But his Kaduna State counterpart, Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, went a step further.
We are politicians, and those of us that you see here want the president to contest for a second term of office. So everything is about 2019. There is no hiding that. We have no apologies for that. We believe in the president. We want him to keep running the country in the right direction. So people can speculate about 2019. We have no apologies, and we'll continue to do that. Whether they are right or wrong is beyond the point. Everyone is entitled to his opinion, but as governors, most of us here, except the governor of Yobe, I think are first-time governors. We are interested in the continuity and policy stability, and we want the president to continue.
Governor El-Rufai also used the forum to react to the issue of strike and protest by the organized labor over the disengagement of some primary school teachers in the state.
It is a well-thought-out decision. We took 1.5 years before we took it, and we will not change it. We have announced that in accordance with the public service rules, we will pay them 3 months' salary in lieu of notice, and we have provided incentives for those that are retiring to go through pre-retirement training. For those that are interested in farming, we will have the reserve forest land available, and for those that want to go into trade, our microcredit board will support them. But they are not suitable as teachers, but they can do other things, and the government will do whatever it can to support them.
He said the government is not worried about any strike or protest, but the breakdown of law and order, which cannot be condoned. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
To the judiciary now, where the Federal High Court has given INEC the go-ahead to conduct the Anambra Central Senatorial elections billed for tomorrow, Saturday 13. In a judgment given in Abuja, Justice John Toho vacated his earlier consent judgment, which had Dr. Obiora Okonkwo as the PDP candidate and occupant of the seat. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo reports.
The Anambra Central Senatorial election has remained contentious since 2015, when the first occupant was removed by the Elections Petition Tribunal, whose decision was upheld by the Court of Appeal. It was proved before these courts that the PDP, the party to which Uche Okenefe belonged, did not actually hold primaries. This position was to be further affirmed by 2 other Court of Appeal judgments, which, as a consequence of the findings on PDP, said that the party is to be excluded from any rerun election by INEC. But in a pre-election case, Obiora Okonkwo was held by a high court to be the PDP candidate who should occupy the seat. It is that pre-election case that has now found its way to Justice John Soho's court, resulting in the much flaunted consent judgment. INEC, being part of the consent judgment, now sought to have it vacated in the light of the 3 previous Court of Appeal judgments. And that is exactly what Justice John Soho did, saying that the process that led to the consent judgment was meant to mislead the court and therefore vacated the judgment, which, he added, was after all not reached on its merit.
I must assure you that our client has briefed us to go to the Court of Appeal to test that ruling.
Although this matter eventually clears the coast for Saturday's senatorial election for INEC in Anambra Central, Justice John Soho says it is in no way superior to other matters that have been in court over this case. If anything, it only goes to clear the confusion that has trailed this election before now. From the Federal High Court, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
And a federal high court in Abuja has adjourned to the 15th of this month the suit seeking to nullify the election of Abubakar Atiku Bagudu as governor of Kebbi State. Justice Ahmed Ramat Mohammed adjourned the case to enable parties in the suit regularize their court processes. Aliyu Tukur has more.
The suit, which had in the last 2 years traveled up to the Supreme Court over jurisdictional matters, returned to the Federal High Court based on the orders of the Apex Court. The suit is alleging that Kebbi State Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu of All Progressives Congress committed perjury by lying under oath in the form he submitted to INEC prior to 2015 governorship election, urging the court to nullify the election and confirm Bello Yaki of People's Democratic Party as duly elected governor of the state. The adjournment was filed by counsel to INEC to enable the electoral body file its response following the withdrawal of the second plaintiff, Sahabi Sani Sami. Counsel to the first plaintiff, Tochukwu Maduka, expressed readiness to proceed with the hearing, saying the withdrawal of the second plaintiff is inconsequential. Justice Ahmad Muhammad informed parties in the pre-election matter that he will not sacrifice anything on the altar of speed and therefore adjourned the case to Monday the 15th of this month for hearing. Aliyu Tukur, NTA News.
To other matters now, barely 1 month after the 173rd Ordinary Conference of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, in Vietnam, where members and non-OPEC producers agreed to extend production cut for another 12 months. Trends in the international market Thursday indicated a 3-year high of $70 per barrel of crude. The next package by energy correspondent Hawa Saliu Adama is a recall of that meeting.
From barely over $20 per barrel, the price of crude oil has grown steadily to $60 and above as a result of collective resolve by oil producers, OPEC and non-OPEC, to work together. A developing trend demonstrated by oil producers of crude oil in the last 1 year is the strength of cooperation, one which stakeholders agree is needed if the return of optimism and confidence in the global oil industry is to be sustained. A resolve which the 173rd conference of the organization, which also featured the third OPEC and non-OPEC meeting, assessed with a consensus of progress. However, to avoid backsliding, a caveat was emphasized.
So to achieve our goals on a sustainable basis, I call on all of you to stay the course, with each member country taking full responsibility for its own contributions. And to protect the long-term interests of consumers, we must invest in capacity.
Head That of the Nigerian delegation puts the implication of the conference decisions on Nigeria into perspective.
At current numbers, we're going to be hopefully making quite a lot of money. Our base budget was on the base of 42, 45. Now we're looking at swing numbers of about 62, 63. So in terms of share volume, 30% increase in terms of earnings should help our budget. Should also create enough incentive for investments in terms of returns for oil companies. Those investments will translate to a lot of investments in the oil sector, provide jobs, obviously provide opportunities.
It's all about the early out of that story, but no doubt increase in crude price to $70 per barrel means a lot for producing countries like Nigeria. Well, in the studio to speak more on the situation is Dr. Tim Okon, Chief Strategist, Fiscal Ministry of Petroleum Resources. You're welcome to NTA Network News.
Thank you very much.
Now, $70 per barrel. What does this mean for an oil-producing nation like Nigeria in terms of revenue?
I think, as the Honourable Minister of State said, if your budget benchmark is at $45 and you are at 70, there is enough headroom. So obviously, for planning purposes, if we stick to the benchmark, then you have the opportunity to save the excess revenues that will accrue and hopefully better manage that excess revenue than we've done in the past. Yeah.
Talking about the benchmark, how can Nigeria really take advantage of this windfall, considering its proposed $45 per barrel?
Well, okay, I think $70 is a price that's just been recently reached. So we cannot speak to whether this would be the average for the year, for example. But if you look at forecasts, and I will quote one that readily comes to mind, the US EIA, the Energy Information Agency, they think prices should stay within the $60 to $61 a barrel average for this year, and slightly above 61 for next year. So if you're looking at averages, it's not the forecasts do not talk to $70 as the average. But even if you use $60, and I think the minister alluded to $62, if you want to use that, then again there is a positive, at least a higher price and some revenues that will accrue if you stick to the budget benchmark. The key in all this is, of course, for Nigeria, where we sell crude, but we do import significantly. We import products from abroad. So higher crude prices also mean higher product, higher product prices. So if you net that off, the impact might not be as dramatic as it's often the headline might sound.
Yes, good. Well, yes, it's a real shame because there's a lot to talk about. But very quickly, though, Nigerian commentators say it's an ironic situation because more revenue when crude price, increases, but when you get to the petrol stations, you realize that the pump price is higher. How do you reconcile these two, and what's the way out?
Well, again, there is 80% of the price that is in product prices is actually the price of crude. The remaining are the refining costs, the transportation, and every other thing. So product prices will all be higher than the crude equivalent. Okay, that's the fundamental fact. Every barrel of oil is refined. So, and the cost of that input, the effort, the labor of people, and all that has to be accounted for. So that's quite clear. But there are two things that can happen. I think first, a high oil price leaves some money for you to reinvest in dilapidated infrastructure. But for that to happen, you also need to have a cost-reflective pricing so that investors can actually coming. So ultimately, if you improve infrastructure, then there is an efficiency benefit.
Okay.
And the prices can come down. But that investment has to happen first before you get the benefit later.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tim Okun, for clarifying that for us. I've been speaking with Dr. Tim Okun, Chief Strategist, Fiscal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and I'm sure he has thrown more light on that matter. Now let's turn to some of the other stories making the news at this time. Key players on the implementation of National Teacher Education Policy have been urged to identify best brains who have passion for the teaching profession, while government works out good incentives for improved teaching and learning in the country to bring back the lost glory in the sector. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Sonny Echono, said this at a one-day sensitization meeting in implementation of National Teacher Education Policy in Abuja, where he reports to the Minister of Education, Abdullahi Musa Suleja. Brings us more now.
The issue of falling standard of education, especially occasioned by lack of effective teaching and learning, is no longer news. What is, however, of interest is addressing the challenge. Electoral proposals and policies have been formulated by successive administrations to reverse the trend, one of which is the present government National Teacher Education Policy. The Permanent Secretary represented the Minister, Adamu.
We have to identify those that can be trained. And this is not limited to those who are already teaching. But even at the point of admitting people into the teaching profession from the very basic level, the pre-school stage, there is a presumption that if you are going to teach, you must at least know more than the person you are supposed to be teaching.
World Bank, which is one of the key players, restated its commitment to assisting the sector.
In terms of the quality, what can your children do now? How many of them can read and write? The more they can read, the more they can write, the more money will come.
The policy seeks to, among other things, attract first-rated candidates into teaching profession and equipping teacher institutions to prepare students adequately. Abdullahi Musa Suleja, NTA News.
Meanwhile, a coalition of various groups, associations and concerned parents in support of Governor Nasiru El-Rufai's reform in the education sector have staged a rally in Kaduna in solidarity with the moves. Mohammed Umar Ajingi reports.
The protest is coming 24 hours after a similar rally was staged in Kaduna under the auspices of the NLC to protest the disengagement of more than 20,000 teachers and others under their local government service. The messages contained on the placards being held by the protesters is evident of their support on the massive reforms embarked upon by Kaduna State government to revive the education sector. Representatives of the groups expressed worry on the deteriorating level education has reached in the state, especially at the primary school level, where children of the masses are left in the hands of unqualified teachers to shape their future.
Because what the children are performing in the state are very, very poor.
And that is the change, because we cannot go for change just without supporting our children, bring them up.
We have the golden voice of Africa, which is Satapa Balewa, which even the foreign people who are the inventors are the honor of English, respecting for the way he articulates the product of public school.
The Commissioner, Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Jafaru Sadi, received the protesters on behalf of Governor Nasiru Ahmed El-Rufai.
The state government is resolute because we believe that it is the way to go.
The group advised politicians to desist from politicizing critical issues like education, as no responsible government can look by when the future of millions of helpless children is being toyed with. Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
Now, our first break is due. When we return, more news, including National Orientation Agency's strategy towards resolving farmers-headers conflict in the country. Don't go away. You're watching NTN Network News with me, Joseph Johnson. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has intercepted 6 containers load of tramadol containing over 145 million tablets. The interception was made at the Apapa Port, Lagos. NDLEA Commandant in Lagos told NTA News that the tramadol tablets are in 200 to 250 milligrams as against government's 50 to 100 milligrams. The people of Guma and local government areas of Benue State are still mourning the loss of their kinsmen to gunmen attack as the remains of the deceased were laid to rest in Makudi. Sympathizers ask that perpetrators be brought to book to serve as deterrent to others. Ben Aya reports.
Area's clergymen took turns to pray for the repose of the souls of the deceased, the comforting of those who survived the gruesome attacks, and ending the mindless killings. The Catholic Bishop of Boko Diocese, Most Reverend William Avenya, who preached at the occasion, enjoined every person of good conscience to lend a voice to the attacks and killings.
Thank God for the fortitude and strength to bear the irreparable loss and solicit for peace in our state.
Governor Samuel Otom reiterated his call on the federal government to fish out and prosecute the perpetrators. Other speakers called on the federal government and security agencies to protect the people of Benue, who have increasingly come under attacks. The remains of the deceased were later laid to rest at a cemetery in Makudi. Bem Hanya, NTA News.
In the meantime, the National Orientation Agency has launched a program tagged Sharing the Green Grass towards resolving farmers' herders' conflict in the country. This initiative is designed to evolve common understanding between crop producers and herders. Musa Babaliu has details.
It has been discovered that the lingering conflict between farmers and herders is as a result of struggle over land, grazing area and source of water. Lives and property, including livestock worth millions of naira, were lost recently due to the conflict. But the National Orientation Agency believes that both farmers and herders can as well live together, sharing same land without conflict.
And it has worked in southern Kaduna. It has worked in the Agatu land. It has worked in the Birom land. It has worked in part of Nasarawa state. Now what we are trying to do is actually to expand this model and where we are having challenges, fine-tune the address the challenges, fine-tune the approaches, and take it to the people so that they own the process themselves.
This can be achieved through direct intervention in mediation, dialogue and understanding.
We use theater to be able to allow the community themselves design the architecture piece. The peace architecture of Nasarawa, Plateau and Southern Kaduna that we designed has today become a model. And that model is what is working in 35 communities.
In the pilot scheme, the agency will be working with local herders and farming communities in Nasarawa, Kaduna, Taraba, Benue and Enugu states. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Let's stay with our story now because cattle rustling has been a huge challenge for the people and government of Niger State, with about 5 communities sacked. To them, lives and property lost are not quantifiable, but more than 8 million naira was expended on the internally displaced persons as a result of cattle rustling. Rose Gia in this report, however, says strategies towards curbing the menace have been evolved and are paying off.
Buya, Paikuru, Rafi and Shiro local government areas of Niger State have been under severe attacks of cattle rustlers, which led to about 5 communities in Rafi local government being sacked. The State Emergency Management Agency came to their rescue.
We have a serious issue of cattle rustling. They went to a village and attacked the village, an open camp, and we spent about 8.5 million naira to take care of them.
The creation of the Office of the Nomadic Affairs led to the formation of a Fulani Consultative Forum, an umbrella body of all Fulani socio-cultural associations and chaired by the Director General Nomadic Affairs, Aldo Abdullahi Adamu Babayo. The office is to, among other things, mediate among and between herders and farmers with a view to ensuring peaceful coexistence in the state. With the rise in the activities of cattle rustlers, a total of 3,786 rustled cattle were intercepted in 2 months by a combined force of security operatives and the Fulako vigilante working across the flashpoints.
We have problem with the borders of between Niger State and Zamfara, Kogi and Sokoto, because they are coming with the weapon through the border. There's no how you will come into Niger State from the neighboring state. We must know within 24 hours. We have more than enough so far on the ground. We have over 1,000, and all of that are not from Niger State. They are from the neighboring state.
Aldo Abdullahi Babayo, who says a large number of the recovered cattle have been released to genuine owners, mostly from Zamfara State, disclosed that more than 20 fake claimants were arrested and handed over to security operatives. Rose Gia, NT News.
Turning to security matters now, the Chief of Air Staff Air Vice Marshal Sadiq Abubakar has reiterated commitment to repositioning the Nigerian Air Force for effective and timely response to national security issues. This was during the inauguration of Transit Apartment for Airmen at 305 Special Mobility Group, Calabar. Maureen Leo Ojum has more.
Apartment consists of 3 blocks of 6 by 1 bedroom and is part of government's initiatives aimed at boosting professional competence of personnel. The Chief of Air Staff charged officers and men of the force to reciprocate the gesture by performing their duties optimally.
We want to have a situation where, as they are fighting, they'll be very happy knowing that behind they have an accommodation for themselves and their family members. So this is, our approach is a very comprehensive approach to dealing with the problems of insecurity in Nigeria. And that's why we're not only providing aircraft training, but we're also looking at the needs.
Former Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Sikak Edwok, who performed the inauguration of the project, said it will enhance efficiency and productivity.
He is working hard, he is committed, and we hope that he will continue pursuing with hard work so they can achieve maximum success.
The Commander, 305 Special Mobility Group, Wing Commander Idris Hossein, said the accommodation will address one of the major challenges of the unit. 305 Special Mobility Group is a disaster response unit responsible for monitoring the southern sector of the Nigerian airspace. In Calabar, Morindio Ajom, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated renowned chartered accountant and administrator Bashirun John K. Randall as he turns 74 on Saturday, 13th January 2018. A statement by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, says the president extols the disciplined attention the Bashirun of Lagos has given to the development of education, leaving an incredible mark as the former Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of Lagos State University. The President prays that the Almighty God grant him good health to continue serving his country and humanity. In another front, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated leader of the Oodua People's Congress OPC, Otumba Gani Adams, on his investiture as the 15th Are Ono Kakanfo of Yoruba land. A statement by Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, indicates that President Buhari charges Otumba Adams to use the new position to pursue worthy goals of security, peace and national unity. The President also commends the Alafin of Oyo, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III, on the appointment of a new Are Ono Kakanfo who will assist him in the task of leading the Yoruba people. The President prays that the Almighty God will grant Otumba Adams courage, wisdom and favorable reign. The Muslim Ummah have been admonished to regularly extend hands of fellowship to the families of Nigeria's fallen heroes. This was the thrust of the special Friday sermon delivered by the Deputy Chief Imam, National Mosque, Abuja, Muhammad Kabir Adamu. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that the sermon is part of the activities marking the 2018 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration is an annual event organized to honor members of the armed forces who fought the First, Second World Wars, Nigeria Civil War, and those serving in various peace support operations worldwide. The day also honor both the dead and living heroes. This sermon is part of the activities lined up to mark the 2018 Remembrance Day celebration. Apart from highlighting the focus and content of today's sermon, I sought to know what is the connection between the annual Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration and a sermon like this.
The sermon is necessary in order to, first and foremost, to appreciate what Allah has given us, in terms of, life and the time.
On a day like this, what is expected of the Muslim Ummah?
The sermon call on Nigerians to show their gratefulness by looking after the family of those heroes that sacrificed their life for this nation. It is our duty to do kindness to their families. It is our duty to support them.
In an interview with the Minister of Defense, Mansour Dan Ali enjoined Nigerians to continue supporting and praying for the armed forces. From the National Mosque, Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari's son Yusuf has been discharged from Cedar Crest Hospital, Abuja, following what the Chief Medical Director described as his extremely speedy response to treatment. A statement from the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says President Buhari, his wife Aisha and the entire family thank all men and women of goodwill, both within and outside Nigeria, for their prayers for their son. The family appreciates the overwhelming show of love and solidarity that came their way since Yusuf was involved in a motorcycle crash on December 26th last year. That statement quotes the family as saying, "We thank Nigerians from all walks of life, both within and outside the country. Leaders of many foreign countries, groups, organizations, and others who prayed, visited, sent messages, and generally stood by us at the trying time," end of quote, as they pray that Allah rewards them. Time now to join Ademola for happenings in Lagos and environs. Ademola.
Thank you, Joseph, and a warm welcome to Lagos. The management of Aero Contractors has unveiled the first Boeing 737-500 aircraft to have successfully undergone the internal sea check in Nigeria. Elizabeth Ewuga, who was at the historic event in Lagos, reports that the company is also set to resume full operations with its maiden flight scheduled for the 15th of January 2018.
I declare him open in the name of God and for posterity.
The certification of Aero Contractors to conduct a sea check in Nigeria is no doubt a huge milestone for the aviation sector. Apart from serving foreign exchange, getting a quicker aircraft turnaround time, Aero Contractors says enriching Nigerian technical expertise and knowledge base with a view to strengthening the Nigerian aviation sector for regional and sub-regional aviation activities is paramount. Minister of State for Aviation, represented at the event, commended Aero Contractors' ability of building an indigenous capacity for sustainable business growth. He said the initiative, which has led to the certification of the company, is a dream of the present administration.
Proud to now, and in the lifespan of other administrations, Nigeria experienced huge capital flights of nothing less than $1.8 million and $3 million per aircraft that left our shores for sea.
For the man behind the success story, the rebirth of Aero Contractors from the brink of collapse was made possible by reviewed policies.
This set a pace towards concerted efforts of ensuring that Aero sustain operation so as to serve the public and keep the staff employed.
There were goodwill messages for the new management of Aero Contractors headed by Captain Ado Sanusi. In Lagos, Elizabeth Ewuga, NTA News.
Telecommunications giant Globacom has distanced itself from media report insinuating that it was the preferred bidder to acquire telecommunications company Nine Mobile. A press statement issued in Lagos on Friday by Globacom stated that the corporation has not acquired Nine Mobile, as widely reported in the media. According to the company, it is bound by the terms on the acquisition process as stipulated by the authorities handling the bidding, adding that Globacom intends to abide by the rules. Globacom expressed confidence in Barclays Africa, the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), and the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) in handling of the process, which will lead to the emergence of a new owner of Nine Mobile. Globacom urges all stakeholders and Nigerian public to disregard the report. And to business news, the World Bank partners Transmission Company of Nigeria on power infrastructure as pension assets rose to 7.4 trillion naira in 2017. Rice producers prefer solutions to the nation's quest for self-sufficiency in rice production in 2018, plus activities on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Musa Tolia tells us more on Business News segment.
Hello and thanks for joining us on Business News segment. The World Bank and Transmission Company of Nigeria have completed negotiations for a $486 million loan to improve transmission infrastructure under the Nigeria Electricity Transmission Project. In a statement issued by the TCN spokesperson, Ndidimba, the loan will boost the federal government's transmission, rehabilitation, and expansion plan to stabilize and provide the needed flexibility to the distribution companies to effectively supply power to their customers. The loan will also facilitate the completion of several substations, and transformers will be provided in the first quarter of the year.
We have to ensure that, one, there's a cost-reflective tariff, two, there's a significant reduction in energy theft.
Total pension assets under the contributory pension scheme rose to 7.4 trillion naira at the end of November 2017. According to data released by the National Pension Commission, 5.22 trillion naira, representing 82.5% of the fund in 2017, was invested in federal government bonds and treasury bills, while pension fund administrators invested about 2%, totaling 148.2 billion naira of the fund in state government securities. Time now to check movement of equities as trading closed for the week on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed with an all-share index of 42,898 points. 1 billion volume of shares valued at 14 billion naira were traded, while the market capitalization stood at 15 trillion naira. Nestle, Mobil, Guinness, WAPCO and Stanbic IBTC topped the gainers table, while international bureaus, Zenith Bank, Flour Mill, Nigerian bureaus and Julius Berger topped the losers table.
Stock market report ends business segment on News at 9. Thanks for watching. The news continues shortly. Stay tuned.
You're still watching NTA Network News. More reports to come after this timeout. Stay with us.
Glad to have you back. The House of Representatives Committee on Niger Delta Affairs has sent back the management of the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs for late submission of necessary budgetary documents for the 2016-2017 budget performance. National Assembly correspondent Rabi Musa reports that a motion by Gyang Estefanos, seconded by Ayuba Bello, was unanimously adopted by the committee members for the Niger Delta Ministry to sign relevant documents on contract awards.
I will move, Chair, that the committee would be allowing the ministry to proceed, and then we give them a new date.
It's very, very correct that we asked the ministry to go back and furnish us. A lot of things are wrong in the processes that we are seeing so far.
We need project audit. How many projects are standing? How many projects have been abandoned over the years?
Stating Section 80 subsections 1 to 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the chairman of the House Committee on Niger Delta Affairs, Essian Ekpenyong Ayi, said the committee is interested in the completion of all capital projects before approving new ones.
We went on oversight. We saw a lot of things. We saw some projects that has been abandoned since like 2013, as monies has been given to which is not even in the budget, and I have not even seen it in the one that they have brought in. So emphasis should be on completion of existing projects rather than new projects. I've seen skill acquisition centers, I've seen housing estates, belts not allocated, and the rest of it. Contractors all on site are talking about debts not being paid. Some since 2014, money has not been released, but we keep budgeting money.
Members of the committee complained that 5 letters were sent to the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs but no reply, adding that the committee has the mandate and legislative instrument to facilitate the development of the Niger Delta region. The management of the Niger Delta Affairs is expected back on January 18th, 2018. Rabi Musa, NTA News.
Stay with us here on NTN Network News. Let's get more reports now as we join Agatha in our Benin Network Center.
Thank you, Joseph. Good evening and welcome to Benin. Towards winning the war against terrorism and other forms of insurgency across the country, the House of Representatives Committee on Army for Southeast and South-South states were an oversight tour of army formations in Edo State. Elizabeth Wutoma has the report.
The oversight function of the lawmakers to Benin City is to assess if the appropriated funds by the National Assembly are properly utilized in the fight against insurgency. It is also geared towards appraising the ongoing counter-insurgency operations in parts of the country. Group leader of the Southeast and South-South Zone, Honorable Musa Ado Ismail, said the federal government is doing all it takes in protecting the territorial integrity of the country. He called that the renovation of capital projects of the Army in the Southeast and South-South region, especially the Nigerian Army School of Supply and Transport in Benin City, is near 80% completion. Governor Basaki, represented by his deputy Philip Shaibu, said the state government is putting in place a security architecture that will help the military and other security personnel in its fight against internal security.
We are determined to support the military.
He called on Nigerians to give maximum support to the military at all levels. Meanwhile, the oversight function to other parts of the zone continues. In Benin, Elizabeth Owotoma, NTN News.
And to create the enabling environment for businesses to thrive and ensure sustenance of peace in the Niger Delta, a 2-day conference on securing oil and gas installations has been organized by the Delta State government in Burutu local government area. Hello, Agbra has details.
Nigeria's economy is largely dependent on oil is no longer news. It is also not news that efforts have been made by successive administrations of the 3 tiers of governments to stem the tide of oil and gas thefts and the continuous destruction of their facilities, especially in the Niger Delta, a situation that has further crippled Nigeria's economy. What may be news is that the Delta State Advocacy Committee Against Vandalism of Oil and Gas Facilities, headed by the Deputy Governor Kingsley Otwaro, is intensifying engagements with critical stakeholders such as traditional rulers and their subjects and ex-militants to fathom ways of achieving the desired peace.
We've done quite a lot, but much more is left undone and cannot cease or rest on our oars to deeply contour intelligence, contour peace that will give us a viral environment where businesses can thrive and where natives of the area will go to live in harmonious relation.
The interactive session afforded participants the opportunity to bear their minds. Hello, Agbra, NTA.
And that ends it from the heartbeat of the nation. Joseph, it's back to you for more reports on the network news.
Agatha from our Benin Network Center there. Let's talk health now. Renewed impetus on primary health care that translated to the facelift and functionality of quite a number of primary health centers in parts of the country, and the emergence of monkeypox, which caused panic and anxiety among the populace, are some of the events that shaped the health sector in 2017. Health correspondent Rabi Abdallah has more on the outgone year and a peep into 2018.
Acknowledgement of primary health care as the cornerstone of any health care was followed by a demonstration of the federal government's political will in 2017 as President Muhammadu Buhari flagged off the primary health care revitalization program at the Kuchigoro Primary Health Center, Abuja.
What we want to see is this situation where states take on this as a major initiative, and we quite appreciate what Kaduna is doing. Among the states, Kaduna is the lead state in terms of this. Kaduna has renovated 255.
So far, we've been able to renovate and make functional about 80 out of the 110 health facilities that were identified and targeted for this renovation. And we feel that, providing the renovation, providing the human resources, providing the equipment is really the way to go if we're going to strengthen primary health care in Nigeria.
2017 appeared to be the year of back-to-back disease outbreaks. From a different strain in the seasonal meningitis to Lassa fever and monkeypox in parts of the country.
Measure that we've been trying to institute is our ability to detect, and that ability is not just surveillance, it's hinged on a laboratory architecture across the country. Outbreaks will continue to happen, and what we're there to do is keep improving in our capacity to detect them early and respond early.
Cancer treatment received a boost with the inauguration of a state-of-the-art cancer treatment center at the National Hospital. The year was not immune to the traditional strikes, as resident doctors went on strike for a while, with resultant effects on the Nigerian health system. On a cheering note, the University of Abuja received approval to graduate its medical students after 13 years. Hopes that the year would see to the much-awaited implementation of the National Health Act was, however, dashed.
The committee that is working on the operationalization is very actively at it. We'll get that seed money of 1% of consolidated revenue fund, and to be able to use it properly and gain the confidence of both the public and donor partners and the other MDAs and the government. We need to have something on ground that convinces everyone that we are going to make the best use of the resources that come out of there, and also be able to implement all the provisions of the Act.
The health sector suffered what many described as a great loss in the year, with the passing on of former Minister of Health and head of the United Nations Funds for Population Activities, Professor Babatunde Oshotimehin. In Abuja, Rabi Abdallah, NTA News.
It was quite a year for the health sector in 2017, hoping that 2018 will step it up a notch. Now, happenings in the world of sports. When we return, stay with us. A bit of sports for you now. 2017-2018 Nigeria Professional Football League season sets to kick-off weekend as 2018 Armed Forces International Polio Tournament begins in Abuja. Ayodeji Makinde has more on sports update.
Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong has restated his commitment to ensure that reigning Nigeria Professional Football League champions Plateau United retain the title, as well as represent the country well in the CAF Champions League. Governor Lalong stated this in Abuja Thursday during his visit to the team's training camp at the National Stadium, where he equally pledged the sum of 3 million naira to the Flamingos for their 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifying campaign.
I'll do my best to continue to encourage them. And like I mentioned before, I say I'll keep on watching them. As you progress, you'll see what I can be doing for you.
All is set for the commencement of the 2017-2018 season of the Nigeria Professional Football League this weekend, with the Nigerian Television Authority and the League Management Company in partnership for the live transmission of matches this season.
And our objective is always straightforward. We look at where we are coming from, what are the successes from last season and how we can make it better this year, and what are the challenges and how we can eliminate them and make them a success.
Hosts Nigeria came from 2 goals on handicap to beat Team USA by 12-6 goals in 4 chokers in the 2018 Armed Forces International Polo Tournament opener Thursday in Abuja, as Egypt beat India 11-9.5 goals in the opening game of the tournament. Oche Ngbede reports that Minister of Defense Mansour Mohammed Dan Ali and Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara declared the tournament open.
Of these sporting exchanges is that it serves as an avenue for promoting diplomacy.
The 4-day tournament is expected to end on Sunday. With sports updates, Ayodeji, Makinde, NTA News.
It's almost it on NTN Network News, but before we go, let's take a quick look at Saturday's weather prospects.